Hello, everyone, and everyone on Zoom. My name is Chip Williford, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm so happy that you're here at Poetry Street. Poetry Street is the room without a roof where every voice is heard. New York, Long Island has been the gathering and trading place for many of the indigenous people. We acknowledge that we are guests on this land. Poetry Street and our work in the area of Long Island is situated on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Lenape, who are the original caretakers, also the Canarsie, the Shinnecock, the Montauk, the Reckonawalk, the Maasai, and the Haudenosaunee. We acknowledge and respect the many indigenous people who live on this land and continue to make ongoing contributions. Again, welcome to Poetry Street. So glad you're all here. We have a wonderful day for you today planned out. We have our founders here, but Maggie's going to come and tell you all about that. Maggie is the co-host here at Poetry Street, and she is an author of many books, including Sleepless Nights. She's also an Emmy Award winner. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Maggie Bloomfield.
Let me help you. How's that, Claire? Hi, everybody, and welcome to Poetry Street again, all of you and all of you on Zoom. We're happy to have you here this afternoon. Glad you were able to surmount the traffic. I am Maggie Bloomfield. I'm so very honored and privileged to be here, especially this afternoon with our founders here, who are going to feature for us. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Poetry Street. It's almost 10 years old. We started at the Blue Duck Bakery in Riverhead. It was founded by none other than our features today, Susan DIngle and Bubbie Brown. It was part of the Jumpstart Project through East End Arts. We stayed there for a long time, and there's Nancy. Oh my God, Nancy Curris is here. She hosted us for years at the Blue Duck Bakery. And when the Blue Duck closed, well, everything sort of came to a head at the same time. COVID also struck. So we didn't really lose much of a step because we continued on Zoom. And then Pam Cook and this wonderful library offered us a new home. And we are so pleased. And none of us can thank the library enough. I have just a couple of things to tell you. Please sign up on the library sheet and the open mic sheet if you intend to read. After our features, our wonderful features, we're going to have an open mic. Make sure you sign up for it. We ask that you limit yourself to one poem. That is one poem, preferably not the epic story of your life. We would love to hear that, maybe at another time, okay? And if there's time at the end, we will bring our features back for an encore. I think that's it for that sort of housekeeping things. I did want to tell you about the community poem. Those of you who were here last week, we have a jar back there. Please write one line. The instructions are there, so I'll be brief. Write one line, throw it in that jar, and then you have to come back next month to hear the community poem. And this is the one from last month. The theme was write a line about river without mentioning the word river.
Maggie, would you stand closer to the mic, please?
Sure. How's that? Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Looking out my window, the blue water of the Hudson, the red lights of the autos racing on the west side, calling forth voices from the underworld. running along library walls to the south, ferrying troubadours west to east, soothing or anxious making, depending how you look at it. Diamonds and rubies, emeralds and carnelians slip by, languid, liquid streams of words that ripple through poets' hearts, words gifted to us, words to heal. They flow easily, or sometimes overflow, skip like rocks rippling toward the other side. Every poem a stepping stone to carry us through the chaos, one of the few lines that flow through time. So, it is my great pleasure to introduce the features today. First up will be Robert Bubbie Brown, and he is Riverhead's most cherished poet. His work has graced nearly every poetry and civic event on the East End. He's an activist and an advocate in his community and a deacon of the First Baptist Church. Much of his writing focuses on social issues. Bubbie was co-founder with Susan, and he's continued with us for the whole time we've been here. And he has also mentored so many young poets and brought them here. And we encourage all of you to please, if you know young poets, we're really looking for them. Old poets are good too. But we'd love it if you can bring some new blood. Anyway, I am so very, very pleased and happy to present Bubbie Brown, and make a lot of noise, folks.
I am so happy to be here and to see how my child has grown. I'm just extremely blessed to be in the presence of all of you. And I don't have a poem here right now, but I'd like to start with a reading that so resonates with who I am.
Bubbie,
Yes.
can you move toward the mic for us?
All right. You should paint a pair of lips on there, you know? Okay. Subject. Does evil exist? Does evil exist? Did God create everything that exists? Does evil exist? Did God create evil? A university professor at a well-known Institute of Higher Learning challenged his students with this question: did God create everything that exists? A student bravely replied, yes, he did. God created everything. God created everything, the professor asked. Yes, sir, he certainly did, the student replied. The professor answered, if God created everything, then God created evil. And since evil exists, and according to the principle that our works define who we are, then we can assume God is evil. The student became quiet and did not answer the professor's hypothetical definition. The professor, quietly, quite pleased with himself, boasted to the students that he had proven once more that the Christian faith was a myth. Another student raised his hand and said, may I ask you a question, Professor? Of course, replied the professor. The student stood and asked, Professor, does cold exist? What kind of question is this? Of course they exist. Have you never been cold? The other student snickered at the young man's question. The young man replied, in fact, sir, cold does not exist. According to the laws of physics, what we consider cold is in reality the absence of heat. Every body or object is susceptible to study when it transmits energy, and heat is what makes a body or matter transmit energy. Absolute zero, 460 degrees minus Fahrenheit, is the total absence of heat. All matter becomes inert and incapable of reaction at that temperature. Cold does not exist. We have created this word to describe how we feel if we have no heat. The student continued, Professor, does darkness exist? The professor responded, of course it does. The student replied, once again, you are wrong, sir. Darkness does not exist either. Darkness is in reality the absence of light. Light we can study, but not darkness. In fact, Newton's prism, we can break white light into many colors and study the various wavelengths of each color. You cannot measure darkness. A simple ray of light can break into a world of darkness and illuminate it. How can you know how dark a certain place is? You measure the amount of light present. Isn't this correct? Darkness is a term used by man to describe what happens when there is no light present. Finally, the young man asked the professor, Sir, does evil exist? Now uncertain, the professor responded, of course, as I have already said. We see it every day. It is in the daily example of man's inhumanity to man. It is in the multitude of crimes and violence everywhere in the world. These manifestations are nothing else but evil. To this, the student replied, evil does not exist, sir. Or at least it does not exist unto itself. Evil is simply the absence of God. It is just like darkness and cold, a word that man has created to describe the absence of God. God did not create evil. Evil is the result of what happens when man does not have God's love present in his heart. It is like the cold that comes when there is no heat, or like darkness when comes when there is no light. The professor sat down. The young man's name, Albert Einstein. This sort of resonates with my shirt. Now and then. Oh, now and then. Now there are lovely houses, green lawns for bungalows, where then there were acres of potatoes in perfectly planted rows, where now there are lush green plantings of local prize-winning wines, where then there were cauliflower plants or twisting cucumber vines. We now see thriving golf courses for drives and 20-foot putts, where once housed the feeding and growth of the world-renowned Long Island ducks. Now there are big box shopping malls where millions park in places, where once there were trees and grass and such, just open country spaces. Now there are 4 lanes of concrete with 100 traffic lights, where once there were a 2-lane road with a pleasant rural sight. Now traffic jams fill every town like a famous funeral mourner. Back then it never took 20 minutes just to go around the corner. Now our school walls are bursting. Each room and desk they fill. Where once a 10-room school was great, somebody stopped taking the pill. Now every home has security system, 6 locks on every door. When once we lay down at night with a restful, safe, satisfied snore. We now have mixed up families where authority made a cross. When back in the day, way back in time, mom and dad were always the boss. I feel extremely blessed to be here. All these 7 times 7 times 10, and reflect upon these changing times, what was now and what was then. I read this right after my birthday, and after I wrote it, I'm like, who in the world was I talking about? And it's entitled The Lost Generation. A whole generation has passed me by. There's no earthly reason why. They speak a language I've never heard. It seems to confuse me, and they just make up a word. These young folk, I'm told, are intelligent, but in conversation, I'm lost in their element. And I really love people. They seem to like me. So please tell me what the reason be. For young folk want to spend some time, and I've got a plan, so I don't mind. So we get together, chit-chat. Instead, all I see is the top of their head. Their thumbs are flying a mile a minute, having a conversation, and I ain't in it. They're enjoying the talk from the time they've begun, and this old man just don't want to interrupt their fun. So they text and Twitter and TikTok and more, and I say to myself, what the hell am I sitting here for? The two of us spending quality time. They're using theirs, and I'm wasting mine. 2.5 hours I've survived this mess. My patience so far has weathered the test. So the goofy part is this great whose thumbs never, this great grand that I've sired said, Pop, you're someone I've always admired. I don't know how, where, or when, but they say, Pop, we gotta do this again. Monday, we'll be celebrating the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. Dr. King did his I Have a Dream speech, and this is close as I can get to reference to it, and I've done it before. It's called Inherent Paranoia. How dare all of us stand here, chest poked out with pride? Are we really all of that? Self-righteousness on our side? Do I deserve all that I have? Did I pay all of my dues? Just whose steps am I walking in? Am I walking in borrowed shoes? This land where sits my humble home, where I sleep each night in peace, historically earned or stolen from a relative of Cochise. Damn right I've earned and suffered for, after hundreds of years a slave, to demand my piece of the land of the free and the home of the brave. I've read and otherwise heard about Black history not taught in school. So it's not a myth, but a broken promise of 40 acres and a mule. 400,000 acres of land from Charleston, South Carolina, to the St. Johns River on Florida's coast may as well have been in China. It was given to ex-slaves who fought in the war, land once called the plantation, given to those who had worked the land, then fought to save this nation. Inherent paranoia flows like blood in the promises that were spoken to build up hope in downtrodden folks, then shatter their dreams when broken. So hard, so wrong, so difficult to balance wrong and right when the scales of justice are balanced by being brown, black, red, yellow, or white. A Brittany Griner continued confined in a communist prison jail. That pesky germ invades my mind. That inherent paranoia prevails. That pesky paranoia screams at me. In her name, with Mia Hamm, she'd be free to occupy the space right now where you and I am. Now, how different would the outcome be? How would our government react if those sick and traitorous rioters, if those Proud Boys were Black? There'd be a different story told. There'd be so much more drama if January 6th was led by a man whose name was Barack Obama. This inherent paranoia that lived deep down in my soul is not a useless infection. It plays a useful role. It's taught me that the media and what it prevents before me, read, watch, listen, turn it over. There's another side to the story. The other side says our children's children will learn or hear a political quote of how they lost some of their rights because we refused to vote. Inherent paranoia, a mental infestation that soils our souls as it gets passed on from generation to generation. This is another reading that I'm going to close with, and I'm reading it because I'm concerned with the state of our nation. We're going through an ugly chapter in the United States, but this writer from about 200 years ago, a Professor Alexander Tytler, wrote about the fall of the Athenian Republic. The truth of his words rings out today as we find ourselves in the center of the cycle that takes a democracy from freedom to bondage. Here are his words. A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters discover that they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury. From that moment on, the majority always vote for the candidate promising the most benefit from the public treasury, with the result that democracy always collapses over loose fiscal policy, always followed by a dictatorship. The average age of the world's greatest civilizations has been 200 years. These nations have progressed through this sequencing, from bondage to spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from great courage to liberty, from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness, from selfishness to complacency, from complacency to apathy, from apathy to dependency, from dependency back into bondage. Thank you.
Wow, okay, let's hear it again for Bubbie Brown. Wow, okay. Wow, that was just wonderful, Bubbie. We love you so much.
It's coming back to you. It's a two-way street, baby.
Oh, goody. Okay, our next feature is somebody I'm so happy to see. She is one of the founders of Poetry Street, and she was with us for many years and is still with us in spirit, although she moved her body out to the Pacific Northwest to be with her family. I don't know, poetry, family, I don't know. Anyway, she's back. We love her so much. She has a couple of fabulous books on the back table. She's my best friend and maybe my favorite poet, Susan DIngle.
I'm going to get through all of this in 20 minutes. Okay. I just want to start with a land acknowledgement as well. I acknowledge the indigenous peoples on whose lands these poems were written, with gratitude for the vitality of these communities and their stewardship of these lands in Southwest Washington, where I currently reside. The Cowlitz, Chinook, Cliticat, Yakima, Grand Ronde, Wasco, and Wishram. On Long Island, New York, where I am from, the Canarsie, Rockaways, Merricks, Massapequas, Manitococks, Nissaquogs, Setaukets, Korchogs, Setatogs, Unachogs, Shinnecock, Montaukett, and Manhasset. I acknowledge all other indigenous communities who have not been federally recognized. I stand in solidarity with Native nations, communities, organizations, and projects in reverence and prayerful discernment as we seek to dismantle the doctrine of discovery and learn to follow the great commandment to love our neighbor as ourselves. So Bubbie and I used to meet at the Blue Duck Bakery Cafe on Main Street by the hour, figuring everything out. And I'm so glad for that conversation. It has really shaped my evolution from being just your average privileged white girl to being your social justice, dismantling the doctrine of recovery privileged white girl. So I want to start with a poem of Bubbie's, that was really meant very much to me, and then I'll read some of mine. This is from Bubbie's book, It's Time, which should be reissued and available to the public. This is called Our Town. I saw this thing on TV about our local town, narrated by a local retired judge whose family is locally renowned. He spoke of all the businesses and such that had brought our town to be an in-depth broad anthology on our local history, listening quite intently, being familiar with many a name. A biased thought flitted through my mind. White folk are all the same. Perhaps his meal on history was fed with a silver spoon, because his recount was as complete as the sky without the moon. How can you forget the black folk whose muzzled back and arms picked, pulled, and brought national fame to Long Island potato farms? Forgotten were the long hours of labor from a folk down on their luck, whose sweat and tears gave worldwide fame to the Long Island duck. Don't get me wrong, I'm not mad, but there are empty feelings of bitter, thankless ungratefulness for years of echoed dealings. And it seems it's taken mighty long for all to realize it takes a huge supporting cast to win a Nobel Prize. But our town's just America. Microcosmic it may be, still the gaps, the huge omissions make for phony histories. So when your children ask you, be careful and answer with care. How Columbus discovered a continent when nations were already there. Amen. So, full disclosure, yeah, I'm still white. This is from Parting Gifts, a shameless capitalistic mention here that Parting Gifts and the other book in Pilgrim Drag are for sale. Fabulous deal, 15 for one, 20 for both. Fabulous. Okay, this is Golden Ticket. Check this privilege. I did nothing to deserve or earn, and am free to deny, like it's all just razzle-dazzle, good business sense, coincidence that made my daddy so rich, my mama so good-looking, and me so rebellious in my private school uniform, a trophy girl at the yacht club in Annapolis, where we sip martinis and Manhattans at sunset, survey the harbor, dappled with sailboats, served by dark-skinned waiters in white uniforms. I am ungrateful and drink too much, with no idea how much I will have to lose before I exchange the golden ticket for the Hallelujah ride. This is so this theme started to percolate through my poetry. Probably a lot of Bubbie's fault, but I'm very grateful. This is another poem, probably off a conversation with Bubbie. Not Another Journey. Sometimes neon signs have to be outlined in fire across the heavenly plain, just so you can find something to explain. Still, you don't know whether you are leaving or arriving. You blow on the ashes, see embers raise. Still, you don't know. For me, it all loops back into, well, this poem says it all. Welcome to Costco. You did not expect to leave with an understanding of America when all you wanted was reading glasses. Instead, you traveled past buffalo plaid pajamas and TV screens, diamond bracelets and toilet papers, cubes of cheese with toothpicks in them, cellophane wrapped Easter baskets, anything anyone would ever leave home looking for and wind up finding something else. Lego sets, white orchids, which will die even if you do place 3 ice cubes a week faithfully on their sod, a cart large enough for a family of 4, now dwarfed by a mountain of paper towels, and other things you cannot live without and don't want to run out of, hoping this time it will matter what you brought home. Okay, I'm sure that my time is zooming by really fast, and I still have so much to tell you. Okay, this is from Pilgrim Drag. This is a poem. I'm reading this because Gladys Henderson likes it. Okay, Gladys Henderson likes this poem. I don't know if you're with us today, Gladys, but you're always with me in my heart. Big sister in the promised land, bring me your broken stuff. I will hand out slick prayers and wristbands. I drive into a tree at 90 miles an hour and walk away. I am made of steel, densely packed as any molecule on the surface of Mars. People look at me like I'm crazy. I hand out leaflets on how to be grateful. I took the laundry down to the washer, set it on fire, then call 911. It is embarrassing when dinner guests ask what happened to the tablecloth. I know you didn't mean it. It was all my fault. I did not see the silver lining. You are always so positive, like when the wind blew the roof off the house and you say, now we can see the stars. I said, in a hurricane, there are no stars. Now I am sorry I stole your dream and instead you got diabetes. You were so hooked on sugar, you kept a refrigerator in the living room. You couldn't throw anything away. The two of us patched together with bleeding prayers. At last, I tell the truth, and it will set you free, but it is too broken to make any sense. When the language betrayed us, this is how I cry. This is what it looks like after 40 years in the desert when you see the promised land. So I think I better really move along quickly because I probably have 10 seconds left and I have a ton of poems. I would like to read, so I did do this thing called Move to the Pacific Northwest. I'm not recommending it. But I would like to read you a favorite poem of mine, and other people have liked it too, because it reflects one of my social activities, which is watching flash mobs on YouTube. So this is flash mobs. I spend the evening watching flash mobs in train stations, on basketball courts, multi-level shopping malls, dance, funk, uptown funk you up, Ravel's Bolero in a train station in Barcelona, flutes and violins played by passers-by. We are the world in a bookstore in Sweden. We are the people. We are the flash mob, beginning at the waterfront when one kid spins on his elbows and leaps up as others dance, funk you up. Drum sets march into the shopping mall, and a singer announces, we will rock you. At IKEA, when salespeople at their stations start dancing, Mamma Mia, and shoppers drop their bags, they too dance like it's their destiny to sing, dance, watch, smile, hold children on shoulders to see. Cell phones capture this moment no one was planning for except the musicians who remembered to bring their instruments. Oh, flash mobs, even though it's years later on YouTube, and I am sitting in my library alone, watching Uptown Funk You Up. Don't believe me, just watch. Yes, I do believe, yes, but don't believe me, just watch. There's just something about IKEA. I don't know what it is, but I recently wrote another poem about IKEA, and I feel that it may be relevant, but I don't know if I can find it. Just a second. Yeah, well, you will have to just take my word for it. Fabulous poem. Okay. I will read it. When I got out to Portland, there are hardly any Black people in the Pacific Northwest. There are reasons for that, like the redlining of the whole city and prohibitions against their moving there after the Civil War and whatnot. But there are a lot of indigenous people, and there are a lot of Hispanic people, and there are a lot of homeless people. There are so many homeless people in Portland that it is heartbreaking to drive through the city. And so this is a poem that is in reference to that. This is called A Sonnet About Mayonnaise. It's time to start making sandwiches for homeless people whose blue plastic canopies surround our downtown church. Do we really have to be Mother Teresa just because of geography? Our church marooned in an ocean of homeless encampments when the city is deserted by residents who can't stand how bad it's got and blame Black Lives Matter for what happened after George Floyd was killed and white progressives had a come to Jesus moment they probably now forgot. Bologna and cheese on white, slapped together by praying hands in disposable gloves. Let each sandwich contain a little sermon like a pickle. Keep making sandwiches, church people. Sometimes throw a poem in, a sonnet about mayonnaise that contains clean underwear and new socks. Well, I'm terribly heartbroken that I can't find the really good poem in here. So instead, I will read Why I'm Not Going to Drag Queen Bingo. There was a thing in Portland. I was so excited about it. It was Drag Queen Bingo, and for weeks I thought about how exciting it was going to be to go to this. And then, I'll read you the poem. Why I'm Not Going to Drag Queen Bingo. Why I'm not going to Drag Queen Bingo has nothing to do with the dress code. I plan to nail it with a 50s look, saddle shoes and a straw fedora, slim khakis, madras jacket, in solidarity with drag queens singled out for persecution in Tennessee and Florida, where their shows are illegal and they are forbidden to read stories to children in libraries. Yes, I am in solidarity with drag queens, having spent years disguised by crinolines and fake eyelashes, high heels I could never walk on, finally to be liberated by old age and young people who are coming out as not being the gender they were assigned at birth. Oh, you go, young people. But the reason I am not going to Drag Queen Bingo tonight is I already played bingo once when I was 12 on vacation with my parents in the Thousand Islands, and even won a silver bracelet with silver clamshells that jingled so beautifully for my mother, who never wore it. And now I have it and probably could wear it to Drag Queen Bingo tonight, but I'm not going because really I can't stand bingo, even though generations of displaced Catholics grew up thinking it was part of the catechism, an outgrowth of the rosary. Forgive me, I just can't sit in one place and pay attention to numbers when all I care about is what they're wearing. I will I will just read one more poem. Is that okay? All right. So this is I'll read this from my mother, who never wore that bracelet. Not that I have a resentment or anything. This is called The Last Flower for my mother. On my mother's birthday, the yellow gladiolas I bought to celebrate her were dead, except for the ones on the top of the stems that didn't open. My mother never threw a stem away until the last flower died. The stems of dendrobium orchid I gave her every week might last 3 weeks on her kitchen table, where she could contemplate their passage. At her memorial, there was a bouquet of dead gladiolas on the altar no one thought to remove, and I thought it was sad, but now I realize how my mother would have appreciated them still being there, even if most were dead. Maybe one on the top might open. That's how much my mother loved flowers, waiting for the last bud to open among the wilted and the dead. She would have loved compost, where the dead flowers meet banana peels and coffee grounds and eggshells begin another life. Let's stop there.
Okay, folks, let's hear it for Susan DIngle. And let's hear it for both our wonderful teachers, Susan. And what a treat, and I guarantee you this time next year, they'll be back in person if we have to pay for her flight. Oops, did I overextend our budget, Chip?
Just a little bit. But she's working.
We have $50. This is a get rich kind of thing, poetry, you know? I mean, I always say, I was an actor in my first life, and I made so much money as an actor, I decided to be a poet. Anyway, I'm thrilled to have been here today and enjoyed these wonderful features. And now Chip is going to take over the open mic. I'm just going to go over the rules again. I am begging you, one poem. Mostly your poetry speaks for itself. If you need a one-sentence introduction, sure. The hook is back there on the umbrella. And please don't misunderstand, any of you. It's not that we don't want to hear your work. It's that we are kind of time limited, and sometimes less is more. I always find one great poem is better than 3, even so-so. So please be aware of that, and I'm going to turn these proceedings over to Chip. The features will be back for an encore.
Maggie?
All right, thank you so much, Maggie, for that. And thank you so much, Bubbie and Susan. Appreciate you. Hi, Nancy. Yes.
3 words?
Yes.
I didn't sign up. I just say 3 words.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Come on up.
Come on.
This is our first home was with the Duck Bakery, and Nancy was the owner of that wonderful establishment.
Yeah, I don't want to take everything. It's just, it's so good to see so many familiar faces I haven't seen in so long. And Susan, how come you don't have a hat on? Susan always wore a hat. Anyway, I just want to say I am thrilled that this is continued, even when we couldn't in Riverhead, unfortunately. But we had a wonderful 5 years. I've met so many wonderful people, and all your work has been lovely. And I'm always excited to get get all the emails and things that everything is still going, and with the Zoom thing is wonderful. And I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you for acknowledging us, that you know that you were the ones that said yes. And you know, Poetry Street will always have a place in my heart, and with the Blue Duck Bakery. And I'm sorry we're no longer in Riverhead. It breaks my heart on that one, but unfortunately, life goes on. See, life goes on, right? So visit us on the North Fork when you come out. But anyway, continue on with all your lovely words, and they always hit me right to my heart. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes. I
And
appreciate
South
it.
Holden Greenport, right?
Still in Greenport, South Holden Greenport. Yep. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We appreciate you. I have one question for you, Nancy. Nancy, you got bread?
Chip,
She got bread.
She got bread. Okay. She's got bread. I know she does. She's got bread.
Yes, bread.
All right. So welcome
Chip.
to the open mic.
sorry, I just want to ask you before we go to the open mic, did Maggie have parameters for next month's community poem that she wanted me to announce?
Write a line about poetry. And thank you, Claire. I neglected to thank you for all your incredible hard work. Oh my God.
Yes, thank you so much, Claire, for all your hard work, and thank you very much. So let's go to the open mic, and we're going to start on Zoom with Margaret Wall.
You, Chip, and thank you to the features. You were both wonderful. I'm reading a poem titled Writing. I write because my mind is like a bad neighborhood I should never walk alone in. Valerie Cesar. I write because every emotion would be bottled up like lightning bugs in a jar, ready to escape. I write because friendships hold within the folds of my stationery, licked inside my sealed envelopes. They travel the globe. I write because the future is uncertain, still promising in set plans, vested in too many years for me now to give up. I write because it's like bleeding, a release of toxins out of my body. Words and wounds can't kill me. I write because my heart is pure, my soul is youthful. I gasp memories with metaphors, allow stanzas to let loved ones remain alive. I write because I was shy, broke out of my shell. A voice carries volumes, used as a tool to inspire. I write because I'm a poet, a writer. I failed as a violinist and a singer. I'm too truthful to act and too awkward to dance and too open to be kept quiet.
Thank you so much for that, Margaret. Judy Turk is the hardest working woman in poetry history. She writes a poem a day at least, and she's here to read at least one of them. Well, just one of them. Judy Turk.
Just one. All right, Chip, while you're standing there, pick a number.
7. 7.
Page 7. All right, I'm reading from Dog Speak, 24 poems written in 24 hours in the voice of dogs. This seems to be everybody's favorite. Nothing better. Bacon. 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 We love bacon. Bacon treats, bacon kibble, bacon gravy on bacon, potatoes, bacon on with everything bacon. You humans are odd. Bacon raw but never crisp. Bacon crisp but never raw. Bacon strips warmed over, but we don't care. It's bacon. Bacon in the middle of 2 slices of bacon on a bacon bread sandwich with a drizzle of bacon on top. Homemade bacon cookies, wink, wink, hint, hint. Bacon. We love bacon better than anything. Bacon shoes, bacon bones, bacon toys. Bacon the pages stuck. Bacon, bacon. Bacon sticks, bacon. Nothing better than bacon. Bacon, bacon, Oh, chicken, chicken wings, chicken sizzling skin, chicken treats, chicken kibble, chicken treats with chicken gravy. Nothing better than chicken. Oh, wait, beef.
I'm just so glad I like bacon, I like chicken, and I like beef. So when is dinner? So Judy's charity, all the proceeds of her book goes to the No Kill Center. Is that correct, Judy? And tell us about the center.
Say it again, because I'm not hearing you.
I said, tell us again about the No Kill
Oh.
shelter.
I am supporting North Shore Animal League, which has been the go-to for my husband and I for 38 years of rescues, 10 of our own, countless others. And when I put this book together, I thought, you know what, I want to support North Shore. And after making that decision, I found out that they are the world's largest no-kill animal shelter organization, and they're right here on Long Island in Port Washington. And so I am honored and proud to say I'm supporting North Shore Animal League. Thank you, Chip.
Thank you again for your service, and thank you for all that you do for the poetry community. Okay, so we're going to come here to the Riverhead Free Public Library and ask Steve Ward to please read. Steve Ward.
So you featured readers. I'm blessed to. The reason why I come here is to listen. It's inspiring. As a writer, you get so much from other writers. So I have 3 minutes. I'm going to plow through this. This is from a collection called My Night Sky. This is called The Yawning Sky. There lies in me a rhythm with its own song, a song beckoning a new road, some distant melody being played in some far-off room down the hallways of my being. I long to return to the soft path of my heart. My heart is the kingdom I left behind long ago. It beckons me back to its borders, calling me by its name, and it asks, can you move away from the old rutted roads of your pain? And I stand on its threshold with my hand on my heart, my breath my only companion. And I reply, yes, bleach away my sorrow, my hurt, until I hear the sound of forgiveness. I tilt my head to the yawning sky, away from my inherited pain. I reach towards the light, away from what I was, towards what I am, realizing the biggest lie I've told myself was to keep looking down, never tilting my face toward the sun. How deeply buried is my truth? I must listen, for it is surely mine alone. I acknowledge the faint voices that want to stand up in the rubble of my past. There is no real word, only messages of sound. There exists no real language for interpretation of these voices, not even to a poet as myself. There is the art, that is the art of it. Not listening to the voices in our heads, but the sound of the words put upon and damned to all eternity to fill these pages. So I surrender to making a new sound and a new song, for this is my kingdom. I am free here to let the dead limbs of my dead tree die. But who am I? Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, we're going to ask Bill. Thank you so much, Steve. That was awesome. Bill Batcher is here at the Free Public Library. We're so happy to have him back. Let's give it up for Bill.
This is titled, She Was Honey-Colored, That's Why. We had a new house in a new neighborhood with new neighbors. We needed furniture, hardware, cookware, and things for our 2 little girls to play with. And there in front of the store was a makeshift pen with puppies. We needed furniture, not a puppy. We needed hardware, not a puppy. We needed cookware, not a puppy. We needed something for the girls to play with. We got a puppy. We didn't even have a fence yet, but we got a puppy. A shepherd collie mix rescue dog. She was honey colored. That's why the girls named her Honey. She was cute. She was playful. She was mischievous. She was a puppy. The girls had something to play with in the backyard, the yet unfenced backyard. She grew bigger. She grew quicker. She grew more mischievous. And one day she took off exploring beyond her big new house in her new neighborhood with her new neighbors. I was out there running down the street in our new neighborhood with our new neighbors shouting, "Honey, come back." Stupid name for a dog. She was honey colored, that's why.
I'm stepping up to introduce somebody who's new to our venue, who I just completed a conference with last weekend. I want to welcome on Zoom, Leslie Friedman.
Okay, Leslie, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. All right, awesome.
Okay, but I have to tell you that I came to listen and I don't have a poem in my hand. Maybe I have to walk a little bit to another room and I will get something, but maybe somebody else wants to read now.
Absolutely. We'll come back to you, Leslie. I'm going to ask Pamela Jones, the ambassador of peace. She's from Cleveland, Ohio, to please read. Ambassador of Peace, Pamela Jones, please unmute.
Hello, everyone. I miss you guys. For the first time, I got a chance to lead an a cappella choir. And this poem I'm going to read, I'm going to sing. It's titled Pray. So I'm going to do a poor man copyright melodically. When you pray, if you're in need, your blessings receive. When you pray, as you pray, just get on your knees and ask the Lord, please, as you pray. And from your prayer, your answer will come from heaven above. From your prayer, amen. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for that, Ambassador of Peace. Herb Wallstein, if you could please bless us with a poem. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, this poem is from the manuscript Adam and Eve in the 20th century, and it will appear in the 2023 Bard's Annual. Light and warmth. They lounge in front of their fireplace in a meditative manner. They've turned off all the lights in the apartment and have lit a couple candles. Their living room is scented with burning wood. There's almost complete silence. The only sounds are soft crackles coming from the fireplace and an incessant seashore drone coming from cars and trucks on a nearby highway. Adam remembers how a few years ago he was lounging by the fireplace like this, but back then he was alone. He remembers his thoughts and feelings from that time and says, "The seashore drone from the highway haunts me like I'm standing on a secluded shoreline looking over a night-obscured ocean. Before we met, late at night, when it was quiet and no one was out or about, I used to feel like the only human left in this town. The highway sounds made me imagine that people passed nearby. Then they all continued driving on to some distant destination. I felt that not one knew or would even care that I was the only human left here. Do you know what I mean?" Eve looks toward Adam's puzzled, orange-tinted face. She replies softly, "I think I do. I think that you felt yourself apart from nature and apart from other people's self. But don't worry about it too much, Adam. We have each other, and we also have friends. These gifts quiet disquieting muses. Well, we're sure eloquent tonight, aren't we? Let's just relax and stare into our fireplace." Adam smiles. He kisses Eve gently. He looks round the shadowy room. Then he turns and looks deeply into Eve's bright emerald eyes. They're luminous like the candles, and like the fire, they radiate warmth. He whispers, "We humans need light and warmth. Nature generates it for our outer self, while love generates it for our inner self." Eve smiles and warmly hugs him. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. You're always so fun. Always. Nina Yavelle is one of our mothers of Poetry Street. Nina Yavelle is also featured at Poetry Street on the road, the film, and she's here with us today. Nina Yavelle.
I can't tell you how happy I am to be here with my friend Susan, and Maggie, and Bubbie, and my wonderful friend, who really is the grandmother of Poetry Street, and Marjorie Day. Marjorie Day is the mother of Poetry Street, and introduced Susan to Bubbie, right? So that's our beginning. So she's with me today after being honored by the senator from New York with a group of people from Peconic Landing who are over 100. 13 people. I don't know how many. So anyway, this is called Standard Time. After a restless sleep, I woke up this morning with late October blues. Finnegan, my cat, was muzzled against chance, his feet pushed against the window, ears and tufts of red and gray hair embrace. I began to believe the pain had left, that the spill of life into the abyss of time would slow. Love will rise again. I'm still rushing, with nothing to do but watch the boys relish their breakfast and clean themselves. The sun is so high already. Is it only 7 or is it really 8? Time has a way of fooling us. What seemed a moment ago is 20 years away. The sun, the first Monday in Standard Time, with work 15 years behind me, I still feel like I must get up, wash my hair, brush my teeth, arrange my face, and ready my lunch, dress to meet the F train. It's just a memory, the darkness, long ago. Was it worth it to let go of dreams, rise and shiver every morning, bear the shock of frost on the window? The question I have, why did I glide through seasons unconcerned, ignore the incessant pulse, allow the moments to pass? Did I really believe they would rewind, that I could keep them from floating away? Finn and Chance are asleep now, deep in reverie. Their breath steams the window, such a peaceful life. I once believed there is a respite, that once you arrived, time no longer moves ahead or back. There, I shall have plenty of time to dream.
All right, we're gonna go back to Zoom land. Thank you so much for that, Nina. That was awesome, and thank you so much for all the years that you've been with Poetry Tree. And Marjorie, it's so wonderful to see you here today. Okay, so we're gonna go to Zoom land. DG Spungen, ask DG to please read.
Thank you so much. A moment to just say to Bubbie and Susan, thank you for your poetry, but bless you for your humanity. This was really an amazing presentation. Thank you. So here's a little poem called I Have Been Crushed. I have been crushed by stars, night skies, intense dark, endless distance, no reaching that peace, just childlike wishes, no expectations. Night sky offers silence, a welcome sound for heads reeling. Tonight's wish unheard, no stopping me, little girl, still asking. Thank you.
Short and sweet. That was definitely sweet. Thank you so much. Chris Javier featured for us a couple months ago, and he's on Zoom with us. We're so glad that you're here, Chris Javier. Please unmute. Thank you.
Hello. How? Good afternoon, everybody. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm outside. I'm on my way to Port Jefferson for another open mic that's about to happen later. So yeah, I figure I'll stop by here. So I'm doing a new poem that I just written. It doesn't have a title. So here we go. His weariness grows. The weight is more dreadful today than yesterday. Wrinkles are formed around his lips, filled with cracks, withdrawing blood, a drop per hour. So far, there's one splat on his green graphic shirt and one on his brown dress shoes. His mother is in the train on her way to the city to meet the immigration lawyer once again for an appointment she spent $3,000 on for 30 plus years. His little brother is about to be a father, working overnight before he began to lose hours on his upcoming shifts due to his enrollment to college as a full-time student. Inflation rate is now 4.2%. CPI is also 4.2%. 30-year fixed rate is 9% on interest. Credit card debt broke a record, $3 trillion. His weariness grows. The weight is more dreadful today than yesterday. He's jobless for 3 months with a maxed out credit card and an empty checking account, sharing this very poem in front of weary poets at open mics. Thank you.
I tell you, I love that. We're gonna come back here to the Riverhead Free Public Library and ask Susan Simmerite, please come and read. Susan came here for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and she's a couple months ago, and she keeps coming back, and we just love that. So let's give her a big round.
Thank you. Well, Maggie asked for new blood, so I'm new blood in an old body. But after coming here this is my third time, I realize I am way out of my league. But I really appreciate coming here and hearing the talent and the passion and the humor. It's very inspiring. So thank you for allowing me to be here. So I wrote this a while back, and as a practicing Buddhist, this was after meditation. The moon sits high on this cold winter evening. From the window, I see her full face peering over the tall pines. Wrapped in my warm white shawl, I settle on my cushion. The serene face of the Buddha statue helps to calm my agitated mind. I couldn't help but hear the news earlier. It was all over. Violent acts of hatred, angry people spewing angry words, fingers pointing, accusing, blaming, egos pushing relentlessly for power. My own troubled mind, it's hard to get out of the vileness, the contorted faces of fury. Breathe. I'm practically yelling at myself, shifting on my cushion, restless. Breathe again, I say more gently. Deep breath in, long breath out. I've spent nearly 10 minutes being angry at those I perceive as angry, self-righteously judging the same wrath I'm experiencing. A spark of insight, Vipassana. The Karaniya Metta Sutta comes to mind, the words of loving kindness from the Buddha. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving kindness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or enmity. Breathe in, breathe out. Quietness slowly envelops me. In, out. Breathe in, breathe out. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. In, out, in, out. Stillness. The timer bell dings. Meditation is over. The world is still the same. I am a little calmer and a bit wiser.
Thank you so much for that, Susan. You know, I love to meditate myself. It's a wonderful thing. And sometimes we just need a reminder to breathe, you know? So thank you very much for that. Jen Sift is an amazing poet, and she is here today. She was here last month, and she's also on our website, on our video archives now. You know, Jen Sift, please come on. Yes, I did.
So I didn't plan to read today, so I don't have anything with me. I'm going to say, no, I'm lying. So I'm going to read you a poem that I didn't write. It's my favorite poem, probably, or one of my favorite poems. And please don't be offended that I am a white woman, because this poem really, really speaks to me. It is my favorite poem. It's by Cornelius Eady, and it's called I Am a Fool to Love You. Some folks will tell you the blues is a woman, some type of supernatural creature. My mother would tell you, if she could, about her life with my father, a strange and sometimes cruel gentleman. She would tell you about the choices a young Black woman faces, is falling in love with some man, a deal with the devil. In blue terms, the tongue we use when we don't want nuance to get in the way. When we need to talk straight. My mother chooses my father after choosing a man who was, as we sing it, of no account. This man made my father look good. That's how bad it was. This man made my father seem like an island in the middle of a stormy sea. He made my father look like a rock. And this is the blues, the moment you realize you exist in a stacked deck. You look in the mirror at your young face, the face my sister carries, and you know it's the only leverage you've got? Does this create a hurt that whispers, how you going to do? Is the blues the moment you shrug your shoulders and agree a girl without money is nothing, dust, to be pushed around by any old breeze? Compared to this, my father seems briefly to be a fire escape. This is the way the blues works its sorry wonders, makes trouble look like a feather bed, makes the wrong man's kisses a healing.
What an incredible poem and incredible reading. Thank you very much for being an ally. You know, we need allies. So thank you so much. Okay, so we are going to ask Linda Bullock to please come up and read.
Thank you, Chip.
That's my sister.
I
know. Thank you, Susan, for reminding us to breathe, my yoga instructor. And this poem is entitled Breathe. My eyes open to a brand new day. I breathe and give thanks for all things, for life, for health, for family and friends, and for whatever this day brings. My to-do list flashes in my brain. Make calls, write letters, clean the bathroom again, order groceries in or out. I still have to make the list. The phone rings and halts my train of thoughts. Okay, who can this be? Will I smile or will I cringe when I check the caller ID? I breathe and give thanks for all things and for whatever this day brings. I'm thankful for the stressful calls, as unpleasant as they may be. I'm thankful for the cheerful calls from those just checking on me. The hills and valleys of my day, I have grown to understand that if I smile or if I cringe, it's all in my life's plan. For life, for health, for family and friends, for the to-do list too. For if it were not for these things, what would there be to do? As I give thanks for all blessings, whether seen or unseen, I realize that if it were not for these things, I would have no reason to breathe.
And I'm so thankful that you have reason to breathe. Now, you know Claire, always at home, and she's behind the computer, but she's an incredible poet, and we're going to hear some of her poetry now. Claire Lumber.
Here I am. It's hard to spotlight yourself. I couldn't find any poems because my computer died since the last Poetry Street, but I searched around and I found this one, and there are no coincidences. An August Peach. May you slip open a book today to an accidental poem, rendering closed the empty place in your heart that aches of loss. If only for a moment, filling that lonesome hole with bliss, wonderment, and the promise of a ripened peach on an August day, juicy, red-tinged, covered in dust and fur, sweeter and more succulent than God's nectar. May you find your peach in one such accidental poem. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the imagery in that piece. Okay, Claire, do we have anyone else on Zoom that would like to read?
Yes, we want to go back to Leslie Friedman, and we'd also like to ask Lori James if she'd like to read or if she's just listening.
Awesome. Lori is my sister-in-law, and she lives in Detroit. Sorry, Lori. Okay, so we're gonna go with Leslie Friedman, and then we're gonna ask Lori if she'd like to read. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Maggie, for suggesting I do this. Unable to sleep, she wanders her home, searching for the misplaced, maybe lost poem. She folded it up and put it somewhere. She loved it so much, she hid it away. And now she will do the same thing with you. It's something about a black poodle dog, jumping, flying, flipping with happiness. His name was King Louis. Down the street, he lived, pranced, she has to say danced. She sees his red tongue dangle so brightly by his royal curls, white teeth, shining eye. Her own eye caught that moment, pause still in the air above the mailbox. How did he climb through nothing to his joy? He just did it. No worries, no what if. Never mind. He is his own best subject. Loyal, true to life, he runs to meet her. She folds herself up, puts herself somewhere, tucks in the thoughts, circling the rodeo, bucking and kicking, they rush past the rope that might lasso them in to her sleepless head.
Thank you very much for another pet poem. I really appreciate that. Okay, Claire, do you have anyone else?
Not.
Lori James, would you like to speak? Oh, maybe next time. No, Lori said maybe next time. Yes. Okay, yes, absolutely. So I would like to read something. I would like to read something from this book. This is from the Performance Poets Association, the 26th Annual Literary Review. And this is entitled Tap, Tap, Tap. The winter sunrise creeping through the darkness lights my room gently. Soft shadows now illuminate the spot on the dresser where I lovingly place your photo. The birds are chirping, although I only hear the silence loudly, boldly stating the understated quandary of how complicated a simple life could be. Looking blindly within myself, pulling thoughts from my mind, I stare at the motionless ocean of words I could never say. And leaning on the edge of a futureless past and trusting hope for tomorrow without stumbling through today, I search for answers to questions of peace of mind. With clarity at the window tapping, tap, 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 I hear chirping birds singing praises of a life without a care. I watch astutely, I admire, I envy them of how free they are. And then they swiftly flew away, one by one towards the bay. Leaving a lesson, an idea, I recognize that I too can live like the chirping birds. No more am I, no more will I be stalled in the futureless past with tomorrow's promise held hostage, as today rapidly ticks away with the aroma of life shifting and sifting away the stench of regrets. I'm gonna bring Maggie back. Yes, I'm gonna bring Maggie back. Let's give it up for Maggie Bloomfield.
Thank you, everybody. I didn't bring anything to read, believe it or not. But I do have a poem in here if I can find it. Well, of course, they don't have an index in the front. It's alphabetical.
Yeah.
In terms of poets?
Yes.
Oh, well, that should be easy. Sorry, folks. No, I don't see it. Never mind. Let me, I do have some. Okay. In the meantime, chat among yourselves.
In the meantime, tell them about your play.
Oh, in the meantime, we'll talk about our play.
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
A plug. Oh, a plug for the play tomorrow. Susan and I wrote play in poetry and prose back in 2016. It was presented at the Southampton Cultural Center to a sellout crowd. And then we did it the following year at the East End Fringe Festival. We have revised it. We are doing a reading of that play tomorrow night at the Jamesport Meeting House. There are postcards on the table. If you would like to pick one up, it would be lovely to see you, all of you there. And oh yes, most importantly, we have a new cast member. The narrator will be none other than Linda Bullock, who you heard this afternoon. Okay, this poem is called In the Beginning. I want to personally thank the snake for all the huge mistakes we humans make. It seems original sin was pretty much consensual. Admittedly, results have proven hugely consequential. If Eden had remained the pristine place God gave, there wouldn't be the challenge of 1 billion souls to save. The garden would forever blossom, verdant, bland, and dreary. No needs or aspirations would leave souls and bodies weary or seeking unattainable perfection. We'd all be heading in the same direction. Granted, the Cain and Abel narrative is not a lot of fun. Without it, God might not have felt the need to offer us his only son. The dawns and dusks would glow relentlessly without diminish. Our days would pass in untroubled flow from start to finish. We'd move along compliant with the herd and never ponder evil or the word. No sins to overcome. Essentially, ho-hum. We'd never feel alone, afraid, jealous, or suspicious. Attractive propositions, true. But looking at the overview, that wily reptile brought down the garden, me and you, with juicy fruit that very often makes our lives delicious. Oh, our wonderful, thank you, our wonderful features are returning. Let's hear it for Bubbie Brown.
A couple of months ago, in this place, Jen wrote a poem about some atrocities that were happening in school. And I knew I had written a poem on that same subject, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I wrote something else. While I was preparing for the day, I found it. This was March 27, 2014. Prayer in school. Take a look around you. Tell me what you see. Are you sitting in a place where you really want to be? I think about times long ago when things were much more clearer, when our children's lives were precious. Little was more sacred or dearer. But now we worry about our seeds as we send them off to school. With somebody else's child going bad, start acting like a fool. We think of school as a learning place, think of recess and having fun, while some twisted, lost, bedeviled child comes to class with a gun. Has this media we call TV invaded our children's minds to think that erasing other folk is a game that is just fine? I think about times long ago, class started with the Pledge of Allegiance to a flag of these United States, whose goal is money, not passing regions. After we pledged our allegiance on the start of our learning day, there was a moment when every child had their private moment to pray. In this nation of multi-religions, of freedom to whom you observe, just a moment of quiet reverence to the God you happen to serve. Somehow that right has been stolen. Since then, things have gone bad. So many parents mourning a loss. So many classmates are sad. There's a downside to this dilemma. There's closure to this curse. The answer lies with each of us to ensure that it doesn't get worse.
Thank you, Bubbie, and once again, the glorious Susan Dingle.
Thank you for that adjective. I found the other poem about IKEA. We have a theme here. This is called, and also another theme. I mean, this is, Bubbie and I used to call this Poetry Street was our ecumenical social justice ministry. And we were not kidding. It's so, in my heart, poetry and ministry are very much together. And this poem is called Going to IKEA After Preaching on Matthew 11. I wondered where everyone was when I was preaching and the church was so empty. They were all at IKEA. I should have known. We are the world, we are the people. The opening hymn at IKEA on Sunday, when cars fill every space and carts abound with artificial plants that look so real, we will never again need real ones, live ones. Adjustable lamps folded up like cranes in cardboard boxes with Swedish names, picture frames of all sizes, duvet covers at the self-service checkout, shepherded by yellow-vested associates who point toward the vacant stations. And I wonder, does anyone ever really buy that Swedish food, shrink-wrapped in the freezer case, as the arrows lead upward and through a labyrinth of everything you may need for your real, imaginary, or future home? The scripture this morning proclaims what Jesus can provide, similar to IKEA: refuge, sanctuary, shelter, while we look for what is missing at home and hope to find it somewhere in this labyrinth. That wall clock, that mirror, those scented candles, which when you light them have no scent. That wasn't what you wanted. The perfect reason to return to IKEA next Sunday when the parking lot is full. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to Poetry Street today. Let's hear it one more time for all of our features, all of our Zoom people, and all of you. I'm going to sign off, but first I'm going to tell you that next month, our features will be Kathy Donnelly, who is a wonderful poet from up west, who put together the world's most elaborate and beautiful poetry anthology, with most of us included in it, and also Bernard Hicks. Bernard Hicks is the other poet. He has featured for us before, but not for a very long time, and we're looking forward to seeing him. I am so thrilled. Marjorie Day is leaving, and I think we should give her a hand for coming. Thank you, Nina, for bringing Marjorie, and thank you, Bill, for driving her home. You guys are the best. I'm going to let Chip sign off. And please come back next month.
Thank you. Well, that's another great Poetry Street. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much on Zoom, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.